consent calendar items on that not already on the agenda are invited to make oral comments about the 3 months notice for things on the consent calendar, things not on the agenda. Yet to address specific public comment. If you would like to comment and you are attending this meeting in person, please start with that to the city clerk. And when called upon, please go to the podium to address the council. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to speak, please raise your hand Zoom and call out the city clerk. You will be unmuted and can address the city council. Whether you are here in person or attending via Zoom and called upon, please give your name clearly for recording. You are requested to address your comments to the mayor and council and not to the audience. By state law, the council is not permitted to undertake any action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. If you have your documentation for the council, please mail it to the city clerk, 526 C Street, Maryville, 95921. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to comment this evening on consent calendar items or items not on the agenda?
Our first speaker will be Karen Liggett.
Okay, you want to turn, you got that button all over you. Just going to turn the button, push that button, let us know to say the light.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Put the microphone close. What's up there?
I'm a Marysville resident still for right now, but I'm here because I left you guys some brochures today in your office, the 10 truths about God and the Constitution. I would ask you guys to read it if you feel like you need to know the truth. If you don't, that's on you. But the Constitution does say in pursuit of happiness and everything for all, not just a handful, which Marysville City Council is not doing. You're doing a handful, not the whole people of Marysville. You're getting people to leave. But for me, I'm about ready to leave, as well as a lot of other people I've talked to. And it's a shame because, you know, I thought about it today. A father has a responsibility to look out for the safety of their children, right? You guys on the city council are supposed to be like fathers to protect the citizens of Marysville. And for decades now, this city council has never done that. You've only done for yourself. You have not been protecting our citizens ever in decades that I've been here. And it's a shame. And now for you guys to be calling yourself city council, which I would like to know one day the oath that you guys say to the people when you get into office. Because I've never heard it. I would like to see, before I leave, if one of you guys can recite that. Because the Marysville City citizens have never heard it. We don't know what you guys do the oath to get in your office. I would like to know. And as far as anything else, I hope you guys, I'm not going to stay for the vote on the pot issue because you guys already made up your mind. You're going to ruin our city like you always do. One day, you guys are going to wake up. Like they did in before. They had the bars, the prostitution, and the pot. Where is it going? All the bars are gone except 1 or 2. And you guys are repeatedly doing the same thing over and over and over. It's a shame. You guys don't want good businesses here. You want trashy businesses like these people.
Yes, Mayor. A reminder that we're on consent comments at this point.
Yeah, that was a week enough to where I just want to get it out.
No further speakers.
Thank you, Nick. Okay. Let's see. We have consent. Therefore, approved by one motion unless some council. Agenda for certain discussion and action. And I think
Well, I'm not sure if it needs to be full with just an explanation. There is going to be a presentation on the Adventist. Okay, because it is.
So, is, and you motion that we approve subject to fully, item number 3. Okay, that's the one we got second.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Quick, that sounded like it's unanimous, but so okay. Item 2 will be full. We now move to the discussion and action calendar. And item number 2 will be moved to a position after item number 5, which will be the next item. Okay, another paragraph. All matters in the discussion and action calendar are discussed and will be acted on. In addition, members of the public that request to speak on any of these items for up to 3 minutes. We're going to do it on time tonight or other side of the issue. If you'd like to find out if you are attending this meeting in person, please complete the speaker's card and return that to the city clerk for the poll. Please go to the podium to address the council. Zoom, and would like to speak, please raise your hand. Raise your hand. And you can address the council whether you are here in person or attending via Zoom. When called upon, please give your name to the council. Resolution specified in the amendment. Recommendation is passing a motion to adopt resolution 2021 appropriate resolution. Like the number of each type of commercial campus businesses that shall be permitted to operate in the city as specified by 5.10 of the so, someone is, it's not me. So the order will be, staff presents. Before the item is, discussion. Please do.
Item we're bringing forth tonight is discussion and recommendation regarding the cannabis industry and particularly the number of businesses by type that the council would approve for the city of Maryville. Historically, basically, prior to the adult use marijuana, state allowance of adult cannabis, we had a ordinance that allowed for 2 medical dispensaries within the city, and that was the extent of the definition of what type of businesses wanted tax ordinance, which required a resolution to determine the number of one of the more complicated items I've looked at is the number of city recognized business types is actually 16 as state and staff report. That's a little less than the state's definitions. The state has 20, I believe, and that includes outdoor cannabis cultivation. We do not allow that to see. So the question is, has been, how many of each type of business will we allow? I think the one that was most prominent was retail outlet storefront, and staff's recommendation for that was to maintain that at 2, simply because that's what previous legislation allowed. We also recommended for large cultivation 2 large cultivators, and that was just based on the fact that our zoning and places that those could exist are limited anyways to being like a fairly good number. I'll be honest with you, the rest of the items we struggled with, and it really came down to what would be a reasonable number based on history, and should, in the absence of any discussion in the past, be interpreted as 0 of the other types of businesses, infinite number of businesses. Staff and I really felt that on the rest of the businesses, one of them should be. As far as my role is concerned, I'm tasked with providing services to the city and its constituents, and I look at this from the perspective of if we're being asked to provide more services to the city, that requires more revenue, typically, and it's a source of revenue.
What would you say for that nursery, is that considered to just be 1?
Yes.
Mike,
Oh. So that's your presentation. We're going to go out. The answer is yes.
we have 5 so far. Our first speaker will be Robert Myers.
Mr. Robert Myers, first of all, the answer of the microphone.
Let's push on here.
Yeah, that's David and
My name is Robert Myers, and I'm owner of California Certified Ag Labs and Assessing Town. Part of what I really want to just bring to attention is, we always talk about the history of cannabis. I've had my lab open a couple of years. Historically, the whole industry has evolved. Where when I first opened up, everyone was there, they're going to be sitting outside, smoking dope, getting stoned. That's the small part of this industry. This industry growing into a whole consumable marketplace, where it's getting to the everyday mainstream usage. It's great for medical health. Anytime the LNB have a lot of products out there for beverages, which replace alcohol, the different cannabinoids that replace any drug, opiates, oxycontin, all the drugs. So in research and development, it's moving extremely fast, and the whole industry is evolving around. Looking at the list that I had access to, kind of some of the elements you guys should look at, we should look at as a city, because I'm a participant in the city also, is the growth of the city. We talk about dispensaries, 2 dispensaries, yes, that's very adequate. But when you look at delivery services, right now you have about 12 different delivery services delivering in Marysville. You have no control over them. They're going into Marysville and other cities, so you gotta have an open eye on the delivery services, keeping it extracted from the dispensaries. In that case, you can actually control the delivery service inside, you can create revenue for the delivery service, which usually do multiple counties. So that'll dramatically increase your revenue. They'll take a separate control of dispensaries and put restrictions on the quarterly based on the city council facilities. One of the items we did not have in is the type N manufacturing. Type N manufacturing is different from type 6. Type 7 is type N. They manufacture infused edible products, drink beverages products, but they do not extract cannabis from the actual plant. So they buy matter already from a type 6 or type 7 manufacturer. They produce the products that you actually consume. Some of the healthiest products you can get, and again, that replaces a lot of the products that you put in the body. The type 6 and type 7 manufacturing. Type 6 is a non-volatile manufacturing, which the CO2 basically what it does, takes the plant and processes it into consumable goods to use in other product manufacturing. Yeah, one or those two combined, they should be separated. They're two completely different businesses. Type 7 can be type 6, but type 6 cannot be a type 7. And cultivators inside Maryville and all around the state, these companies, type 6 and type 7, not only do they bring great revenue to the city as far as the tax-based purposes, all the tax they pay on the product, but manufacturing, they can manufacture and extract the product from any grower in the state. So you want to be able to attract them into the industry. They're highly controlled. They're kind of like a prison system. When you walk into them with DCC, they have very strict regulations on how they operate. They're coinciding with our police department, and so they're one of the safest businesses you have outside of the cultivators. And the licensing, I wasn't quite clear when you had the licensing as far as type M only. Type M for medical, is that in reference to just being a medical license, or is it include recreational also? Or is that multiple explanation? And also on the type 12 and micro business one and license. The micro business is something that you should also consider with cultivators, because that allows them to produce their own product and process their product. And again, that's one of those licenses you can put restrictions on. And also in preparation, there's a bill that's passed that's going through for EB-45, which actually incorporate the hemp products or consumable goods that will be regulated just like cannabis. And that again is another big growth in the industry that you guys account for yet. So EB-45. So my point of contention is, I think instead of putting hard fast numbers on every single category, you should have an open line and we come to the city council based on the business from how they're regulated and how the effect is. Instead of locking ourselves in something like that.
So then I understand that you're suggesting one manufacturing, there could be several manufacturers, and they would be basically invisible other than what you not to be visible to the public.
That is correct. They'll be invisible to the public. They'll be highly profitable to the city, and also be a great service to the state.
They typically congregate around cultivators.
That they do. The cultivator is the foundation of the industry. And then it's cultivation as it manufactures processes through all these other ancillary businesses are functioning to the cultivator to the dispensary. Everyone else is still in this middle. They're all vital parts.
That's questions from discussion.
Yeah.
Anybody has any questions? Thank you, Mark.
Our next speaker will be Vinny.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for.
What's the business?
Sorry. My name is Vinay Shastri. I go by me. I'm the founder and CEO of I'd say one of the top 3 in terms of size of local operators in the state of California. I operate 250,000 square feet of state. Depending on the time, we're about 600 dispensaries throughout the state. We're a relatively young company. We started in 2017, commenced operations in 2019, to extend 2018 to our first facility. This mayor, thank you for the invitation to this council and council for that session. I'm here to, I guess, first tell you give you some perspective and some observations on the cannabis industry, both inside and outside California. Separately related to what I'm telling you about how resistant there is. But I'll start by telling you about like I said, the inception of Maryville was in 2017. We haven't raised any money from outside the industry. The capital came from myself and my partners. And we managed to grow to be a market leader in what we do. It's clean flower and products, specifically some extracts and concentrates and others. A very large part of our success was the geography around the city that we started. Chester and these were the town and the city that were very supportive of the cannabis industry. And it made it easy for us to commence operations and to scale. And that was primarily our advantage. We were in a consistent jurisdiction that allowed us to succeed. That makes us a scale of point where our employers in Chester, which were those 200 days there. Since then, I have expanded operations in Oakland, California. Getting back to the primary jurisdiction, and this brings the perspective on the cannabis industry. It's one of the unique and extraordinary things about the cannabis industry today is that every state is like its own planet. It's like its own country. It's certainly its own market. Product doesn't cross state lines. And so California is a cannabis market, and it doesn't matter what's happening. It's California. And it reminds me of how business was in this country before sort of outsourcing all our jobs to China, factory versus what used to be like in this country. To start outsourcing. For example, Hershey, Pennsylvania. Hershey set up software created in town with running water, indoor plumbing, electricity, which at that time was unheard of. There's workers, and then we're doing the same thing for Hershey, of course, in Detroit. Thomas Edison, the same thing as Pennsylvania. The thing is, the market dynamics of manufacturing things back at that time afforded businesses to be able to do that, invest in the community, invest in their home, because we weren't competing with a sweatshop. And that's really the unique and extraordinary thing about cannabis today, in that you're really a local business in the way that few other businesses are. And for us, like I mentioned earlier, it's because we started with our chance and it enabled us to scale. My interest in Marysville is better people. I see what we were able to accomplish in running Chester and contrast that with our experiences elsewhere. And that's what operators in this industry do, especially with product companies. So we're excited about the opportunity for business and a lot of jobs with the tax base and the positive effect. Thank you.
You're a cultivator, primarily cultivator.
Primarily in cultivation. About 250,000 square feet of cultivation.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure it's going to give one person this much time to speak so far to that we make sure we have
That's already been discussed and taken care of.
Thank you. And also, I don't know if there's anything we can do about it, but I've got multiple texts here that say people cannot hear on Zoom, and
I think the same text to the anything that we can do at this point.
Not at this point.
We can ask people to talk louder and get closer to microphone.
Yeah, Madam Clerk, would you, the next person speaks, I'm going to ask them to position that microphone, that's, okay.
Absolutely.
That's going to come fairly live. I've got at the moment to the lights. Okay. Well, they should show up in person. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker will be Katie Maple.
Hey, welcome. Remember, front and center there and speak into the best you can, but I think we've got problems using it to do that.
Hear me okay?
Oh,
I'll try to speak
okay. Hold on. Name and place of business.
Sure. My name is Katie Maple. I'm the Vice President of Government Affairs and Compliance for Perfect Union. Really happy to be here, and thanks for making the time. We've now been open almost 3 years, which is crazy to think about, but it seems like it was just yesterday. And in that time, we made a commitment to you at the beginning, and hopefully we follow through in your opinion, being good community partners. We have union jobs for all of our workers, include living wage, healthcare, paid vacation, and retirement, regardless of your position in the company, and that grows over time. We've also contributed significantly back to the community. This includes almost $5,000 to the Marysville Fire Association, $2,000 to the E-Center, the Untittled Heroes Program, $1,800 for Happy Paws Rescue, $5,000 for the Beach Festival, almost $8,000 to the Yuba-Sutter Food Bank, along with many other contributions and volunteer time. So all of this is to say we've gone above and beyond because we want to show you guys the growth that we're partners. And I'm really excited. As someone, I went to high school in Yuba City, just next door, and I used to spend a lot of time in the city. And it's been amazing to see how it's grown and changed over time. So I'm really glad that we could be a part of that and to contribute in that way. So I just really wanted to share that with you and introduce myself. I haven't been here in a while because of COVID, so happy to be here. And also, I commend you on doing the work and putting this also together. It's important to also hold your commitment to taking to the community in terms of the amount of businesses that are going to be here. It's still a scary subject for a lot of folks, and hopefully we can change that over time. But I appreciate your work on this. Thank you.
Union started off with, I just want to clarify, the business, you started off with one structure, you purchased another,
Yes, sir.
and so you have a monopoly in Marysville right now.
We currently make mental health safety and we have a question. Yeah, no.
That's great.
Our next speaker will be Lance Robbins.
Lance, welcome. Your name and place of business.
Yeah, Lance Robbins, the responsible for investment corp, as you probably all know, the company's, family company owns the Maryville Hotel, B&B, and 420. I'm back here interested with regard to those properties because if I can be successful in the initiative I'm going to talk about here, we will come back and do a lot of the hotel. The reason I'm here is about cannabis licenses. I have personally contributed and been involved in the kind of human suffering that cannabis addresses on a medical issue for over 30 years. Responsible about drug addicts face on a volunteer basis and have given 7 figures to causes to the University of California that deals with the impact of drug. What I'm here to advocate for is a license that will permit medical cannabis to employees and people this are completely on this which are not able to start cannabis. I have an organizing team to support that, which includes the former head of the COA Cannabis Institute, and a bunch of esteemed doctors in the country who would help me in this effort. But you know, I understand that as of now there are only 2 cannabis licenses authorized. I am here to advocate for the third, and as far as I'm concerned, that third should require medical cannabis to be explained, dispensed, and made available to so that doctors and the public can access them in an equal way, which effectively they can't. That's the reason I'm here. I'm going to invest a lot of money, millions, into both developing a hotel and developing this concept. I am not a cannabis dispensary operator. I will afford that so do it, but while maintaining the personal involvement in ensuring the mission I'm talking about. To do that, they got to be able to sell adult as well, and medical cannabis is something. I have seen what they've done for people. The most stirring story we got to talk about before. There's a friend of ours whose child died, right? Okay, and the system is now because of cannabis. She had brain cancer. She was given infusion to move around UCLA, that's kept her alive for 7 years. That is not the usual story of cannabis. Cannabis gets the rap of the early experience that I had in the when I was there, but it has gone way in terms of real medical evidence. It doesn't have to be about getting high, it is real medicine, real potential. I see it all the time, almost every day. In terms of anxiety, insomnia, depression, addiction, ADHD, on and on and on and on. For those who are interested in endless referrals, I'd like to offer up Jeff Chan, who is the guy I just mentioned, who headed this Adventist-Rideout, who delighted a public discussion over Zoom on the merits of what this plant does. I'm not talking about the economy, I'm not talking about the sociology. We can talk about what cannabis is, and it didn't your entry level drug. That's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to say there's a real compassion issue here. That I have personally invested 30 years and millions of dollars in trying to make it fair before, and this is perfect intersection to be able to do that and get model and generate a lot of tax revenue in the process. That's what I'm doing. And we're happy to answer any questions that you've got. I was going to do that. And the option with regard to the discussion of that, and Jeff can talk on this with his roundtable on the water operation.
Just to clarify, Marcus, you should probably call it Mr. Robbins.
This is fine. We're starting
For seeking a retail license, inspection license, whatever.
I'm seeking another retail license. And what I'm concerned, they could have condition on it that there must be some medical.
And target location would be 420, is that correct?
Either 420E or the process street, depending on the operator wants to apply. Both of those buildings could run themselves into kinds of uses. The bigger building, the 420 could be a grow, it could be manufacturing, a lot of things. But I want my focus right now is a dispensary or retail license for real medicine. But bud tender asthma person, why are they in the dispensary? What are they looking for? And they really inquire, they would get the same kind of medical information the doctor would get to the student. But they're not trained to do it. There's not information on the walls to discuss it. It is a total darkness of ignorance because nobody requires that the bud tender make those kind of inquiries and there isn't any option. Give them anything to choose from. Walking up from a cannabis dispensary. I did this in Colorado and the guy looked at me and said, it's a joke. We can't sell anybody. So there's a level of response that I think should be part of this industry. Nobody's doing it.
Thank you. I wanted to clarify that. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker will be Michelle Barker.
Welcome, Michelle.
Hi,
Your name again when you get to the podium and place of residence.
Michelle Barker, City of Marysville is my residence.
Welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to state that I'm listening with the last, I believe, 3 people that have just spoke that are talking about these dispensaries and the need and so on. The city of Marysville is surrounded by boundaries of the levee. We cannot have any growth. We are right here. We already have 2 dispensaries that are operational, and that's what was by our municipal code, I believe, when that started. I don't want to see the city of Marysville known, especially on E Street, as little medical marijuana, Marysville, or anything like the homeless and drug use. I am not in support at all of this medical marijuana, adding another 1 or 2 dispensaries. And when I read the resolution, it does comment about having authorized at least 1. Well, where do we end? I mean, I don't believe that this industry at all is a highly controlled industry, nor do I believe that there is constrictions that are followed. And I relate that by this weekend, I was up on Peoria Road at my ranch, and I had to stop someone walking onto my property that I happened to see in my rearview mirror, get out and walk over onto my property, and I flipped around, turned around, and when I got up on the ledge, I could see irrigation hoses and so on. They're down there cultivating marijuana. And I believe that this is one of those industries where you can have all the regulations you want, but it's not going to be followed. And I don't believe that, as it was stated, the geography is supportive of the cannabis industry. Sure, on my private farmland, as it is for all of the homeless that I keep dealing with on my private farmland. They're going to be going out and affecting me, not anybody else that has a house. That's why I made the statement for those that are giving the food giveaway for that has the illegal camping on my property that is right next to it. Why don't you pass out that food in your front yard? And then you'll see what it's like for us on our privately owned property. And it's just interesting that this came up tonight because I dealt with that on our ranch. I shouldn't have to pull over and then be confronted by that and see the irrigation hoses. I don't believe that it's controlled or restricted at all. I think that we already have 2. Where is anybody saying that the 2 that we have are not supporting the need here in the city of Marysville? And again, I don't want to ruin Marysville. I want Marysville to be itself. We have got to take care of the illegal camping and take care of all of those up and down our streets that are on Ellis Lake so we can build businesses right here that I would go, that my children would go to, and my grandkids. I don't want to see more dispensaries. And if there's a tax or whatever, we're talking about a special tax for those businesses that are bringing it in. Let's do it. We can take care of it that way. But I don't want to be known, the little population of 10,000 of being little medical marijuana Marysville. Those are my words. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
No further speakers at this point, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, we have public comment. Public comment closed. Council comments. Got some moving up in the material, but you can pass it around and keep going around and pass it around again. This is, we know it is a legal business in the state of California. It's legal in the city of Marysville. And it has been very good to Marysville. Marysville's general fund, that's not the sewer or what have you. General fund, that's what operates the police, fire department, public works, parks, streets, all of that. That's general fund. Last fiscal year was only 12.8 million. Out of that 12.8 million, 3.4 of that came from the Measure C, a 1 cent sales tax increase that was passed in 2016, and it sunsets in 2026. That's revenue that's at risk. The other piece is the significant piece that's relevant to this discussion is the cannabis revenue. The cannabis revenue last year was $880,000. That does not include, that's 5 5% tax on retail sales. And those retail sales include the deliveries made by our sole seller of product in Marysville to outside Marysville. And that sales, that 5% did not include the 0.7 cents of regular sales tax on food and tax. So you round that maybe up to about $1 million. So $1 million of revenue. And I think we spent very little money on streets last year. We might spend $200,000-300,000 on street upkeep repair, if you will. There's a lot of feedback on the need for police officers in Marysville. The police force in Marysville today is a fraction of the size it was when I was a youngster, and the city was the same size. Fire department is stretched for resources. Public works is stretched for resources. Staffing in general is stretched for resources. The estimate based on the taxing scheme for cultivation alone is the cultivator would produce, given the scope of the operations, they might have about below $1 million in the tax revenue. Each cultivator, the single cultivator is $1 million, which is equivalent to the entire retail operation. We can get 2 cultivators, we'll provide for 2 that understand this schedule. That would be nice, and we get to 2, then we can ask the question about. The other thing that's interesting is that there's been a great deal of interest expressed by entrepreneurs in this business, in doing business in Marysville. It's an opportunity. It's there. And we all know, I'm not telling you anything, it's like the basics here. Opportunities don't always sit on the shelf waiting for it. Pass some time, we can miss opportunities. So I'm speaking in general terms now rather than being specific. In general, what we can do to have this interest from appear to be both party parties, responsible parties engaged in their lawful business, is to open our arms and consider very carefully each opportunity. You don't have to say yes up front, but consider each opportunity. We know there's a lot of pushback on municipal retail presence in Marysville. Given the intensity of that pushback, my interest in that remains, and my interest in pushing on it is not as key as it would be something, particularly with something for receiving, it's a little different than the typical retail business that is consideration. That all pass the torch that. You want to take it next?
After looking at, we have 16 different possibilities here, or I guess these are state industries. So many of them just overlap to give the ability to bring in more. For instance, if we put cultivation, we've allowed 1. Then it gets reworded to say, if we put cultivation indoor large, we can have it. If we have cultivation medium to small, we have it. If we put a micro business in, they can also have some cultivation. There's another one. it also, so my point being here is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different categories for cultivation. And this is proposing that there be 3. Back when I got elected and we brought some of this in, we made some promises of how we would handle cannabis in our community. And I'd actually kind of like to relate this to what one of the speakers said, that somebody on the coast open their arms to be a coastal city to become a cannabis community. Well, I do not want to be known as a cannabis community. I already think we've pushed the limits on what we have and what we've allowed. And I made a promise that I would hold to where we've already gone. I'd like to just remark about a couple of the speakers. We know the benefits of medical. It's amazing from what I understand in different areas, but we also have 2 dispensaries already that can dispense medical. The delivery, which has been talked about, that delivery is being brought here. I know this is being looked at a state level, that the taxation will be is looking into, that the taxation will be at the point of delivery, as are many other industries, including mine, where we deliver to a community and that community receives the tax. That already is being looked at with the state. So it's not like we don't know where, if any, that will be giving up anymore. I also thought that the comparison that Hershey developed a community with the chocolate industry in building a complete town, that we would want to compare our community to being Hershey as the cannabis Hershey of Northern California. I thought that was, I'm almost ashamed to think that we would put ourselves in that category. We talked about the source of revenue that would be brought in. I believe in Marysville, with our size, there's only a certain size pie. I don't believe putting in another dispensary is going to make that pie any bigger. I think we're dividing the pie in half. If we let a third one in, we're dividing the same pie in thirds. If we bring a fourth one in, we're dividing that same pie into fourths. So I don't see that we could be sure that there's going to be growth there because of that. So, we go back and we talk about, well, what's going to happen if we lose the 1% tax increase in 2026? The community stood behind us on that. I think when we show how well that did, where we spend it, which I think the community is always dying to know, I think we'll get that support again. So I want to just count out the fact that we won't have that. And I believe that we need to get more creative on bringing in other businesses than just hemp. So that all being said, I have brought in an input that I would pass out at some point when it's appropriate of how I would like to see this scale work, but I will make it very clear. Of all the cultivation types, we would allow 1. Large, small, medium, 1 license. We would allow 1 manufacturing. There's 2 categories, doesn't matter. 1 manufacturer. 1 testing lab that we currently have. 2 dispensaries that we already approved and have, and 1 distributor. That is it. All of these other things, they're allowing all of these numbers to become inflated. Even though it looks like we're saying 1 cultivation, well, we're not. We're actually saying 3 if we go with the current chart. And so I will pass this out when it's an appropriate time, but I'll leave it at that point for right now.
Councilman Hudson, do you have any comments?
Sure. So I was here when, the board passed this several years back. On a personal note, I am not against cannabis. I'm not against cannabis for personal reasons within my family. I have five people who came up spoke tonight. I think you should really do nothing. Some very articulate and good point of views and thoughtful some good information. I appreciate the information. And I also understand other people's apprehension. Again, I'm not opposed to cannabis. I am, have been, and will be opposed to enhancing this in our small community. It's just, that's my standpoint. We will make this happen. Let's give our youth back in 16 with 2 dispensaries, and I'm afraid of it just not necessarily spiraling, because I understand that the industry is highly rated in every aspect. More so than the business I am. I'm concerned mostly about perception of reality. I get it. There was a time that this community had 167 bars, and this town was known for bars back then. And so I'm concerned that if we enhance that again, and that in particular industry, that's what's going to be known for. There's known for something of that sort. Sure enough, I don't know. I'm here for another year. So we'll go back.
Councilman Bowser, you have anything?
Yeah, I've got a few things to add, and I've got a couple questions. I think the Chief Staff will probably be the best to answer questions. But I guess let me ask you first, Chief, because you handle, go ahead. You handle the application process, right, for the cannabis businesses. If somebody wants to come in and say they want a manufacturing license, they go through that application process, right?
So the process is they submit an application to community development. From there, they get the zoning verification letter for the property to make sure that it is a use in that area. And then from there, it goes to the planning commission. So once the planning commission to look at that to make sure simultaneous with the planning commission is for cannabis review, which is all the department heads in the city that make up that cannabis review committee. So what we do is like for the manufacturing licenses or distribution, that's the process for that. And goes the recommendation goes from planning commission to back to the for approval. When it comes to dispensary licenses, it's a whole different process. They submit their complete safety security plan on their application. Live scanning fingerprints are done prior to the planning commission. But even before that, when the application process came in, what they do is we have an open license that when first you came, it goes out for basically to the public for a process. So there is a process where that license becomes open and they go through the whole process of an interview process, an application process where a committee is put together, and that application is rated based on their experience in application put together. So once the rating criteria is completed, then from there it moves along through that same process of distribution, and then it ultimately comes to Maryville City Council for final approval, where those top contenders for that will be able to come to council, give their presentation on why they feel that they would be a viable company within the city, and as the policy review goes through that license, it comes back through me and I actually issue it.
Gotcha. Thank you for the explanation. Just out of curiosity, so right now we've got both dispensary licenses that are taken, you might say. Right? We've got Mr. Myers' laboratory, right?
That's
right.
correct.
License taken. Essentially, we have a cultivation, the manufacturing, and the distribution license. I believe the distribution license is pending, right?
The distribution license and permit is pending. It's almost near completion. We're waiting on final inspection from my agency on, I would say, a few minor safety and security concerns that I have that we're currently fixing at this point in time. And once those are completed, we'll do our final inspection. Okay. By the end of this month, we'll be issuing that permit for the distribution.
So the ones that are available right now is manufacturing license and cultivation license, right? That somebody can come in and apply for, they can be granted that license in one of those two categories, right?
One. They're undefined as one right now, so I don't know if we can state that.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough.
There's also delivery that's available.
Delivery license. Okay. Yeah. So just out of curiosity, over the last 12 months, so let's call it November 1st of last year, how many cultivation applications have actually come through the system?
Applications itself.
Yeah, like that is actually submitted to community development and worked through the process. What about in the last 5 years? Because since 2016, basically, when Prop 64 was completed and we went through the process of creating our ordinances, how many do you think have come through since that date, which is roughly 5 years?
There's only one that I've reviewed.
Only one that you've reviewed in 5 years?
Yes, that was Marysville Cannabis Company that got the original, one of the original dispensary licenses that had cultivation attached to it.
So we've had a cultivation license available for 5 years. We really only have one applicant came through the process that was, and they were granted that license, but there haven't been any other applicants that come through.
As far as applications submitted
For cultivation.
for the whole process of cultivation, we haven't seen the application.
So out of curiosity, in the last 12 months, how many applications have come through for manufacturing in Marysville?
0.
And then same question, since the inception of cannabis ordinances, how many manufacturing licenses come through?
For manufacturing,
Yeah, applications for manufacturing license.
I have not seen it. That's 0.
So we haven't had any manufacturing applications since the inception of our ordinance, right? So, thank you. That concludes my questions. It's not about the reasons I have for, right? So,
question.
only one.
What about a distributor? I think there's a distributor in town.
We covered that, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, it's in the pending process right now.
Thank you.
You don't have an apple question? We gotta make light of this. Thank you, Chief Sachs. I appreciate it. I just, I look at this and I look at the quantification of the licenses being proposed to be available for all these different categories of cultivation, all these different categories of manufacturing, and micro business, which basically would allow for all components of it, I think, other than distribution, but growing, manufacturing, and dispensary. And I look at the demand that we've experienced over the last 5 years in this industry, and I think to myself, is it really necessary to open it up out of the 6 original categories that the previous council had worked within? 60% of it's been gobbled up at this point. There's still 40% left. So we had this conversation a month ago when at the beginning of October, there was a cannabis conversation that we had here to kind of test the waters, and everybody spoke their piece at that time. And then here we are again a month later with the same topic, trying to get, in a sense, kind of ramrodded through the process. And I go back to this, and I wish in the staff report it would have been made reference to, but and I'm going to repeat it because there's a lot more ears here tonight than there were that night. But in 2016, Yuba County went through the process of Measure A. And Measure A asked the citizens of Yuba County, which included the precincts of Marysville, of how they felt about allowing for medical cannabis cannabis cultivation inside Yuba County. And the precincts in Marysville that voted, I believe, came back 58-42. So 58 were against allowing cannabis cultivation, 42% were in favor of it. That's a big gap. And take that into major account when I talk about how to make a decision on this particular topic, cannabis. And you look at those, you look at the numbers, and that's the only time that the residents of Marysville have had the opportunity to really, in their entirety, say whether they want cannabis or whether they don't want cannabis. Now, the history of it is that Prop 64 passed 6 months later, and the council at that time created the ordinances under the umbrella of Prop 64. So, you know, I look at all that stuff. I voiced the same opinions and concerns a month ago. They've been disregarded, which is very disrespectful. And they've been shoved back onto the dais, and now we're talking about it for another hour, hour and a half. And we could be handling other city business that can actually move forward. Bruce brought up an amendment to this. I'd be very interested in seeing it and looking at the numbers on it. But I don't think that just based off of demand alone and the consensus of the general population of Marysville, I can tell you this: I've been blowing up with residents contacting me with reasonable and justifiable reasons of why they don't want to see more cannabis. The only positives that I've heard of it are from the individuals from inside the industry that want to be able to do more business. So I represent people in Marysville. That's bottom line for me. So when the voice speaks to me and tells me where things are at and where the community's at, what the general consensus is, that voice has got to be represented on this dais. So here we are again having the same conversation over again. And I'd be interested to see Bruce if you're amendment to this, and be able to lay eyes on it and see if it's reasonable with what our original intent was for cannabis in Marysville. Thank you.
How are you? Welcome. Thank you for coming. I'd be interested in seeing this amendment. I don't really want to increase the numbers that are on this list. I hope everyone's had an opportunity to look at this list and understand exactly what it is. So this is a small town, and I would like to look at the possible amendment. Maybe if you're not comfortable, business is business, and so I have to tell you, I would like to look at this possible amendment, and that's what it is that. Thank you very much.
That's it for you. Real quick, that vote that was in 2018.
2016.
2016.
That's in the primary election.
So it was the vote that came 50-42.
Yeah, I believe it's 58-42.
5 years ago.
We haven't had another vote since.
I just want to clarify, it was 5 years ago when the city had no experience and none of the benefits, and made aware of the benefits of having cannabis business, and have not been made aware of the potential additional financial benefits to the city. When I first looked at this city with an interest in becoming involved and running for this seat, the only reason I did it was because I thought Marysville was and is in real trouble. There's a term for it in business, it's called long-term liquidation, where little attention is paid to reasonable growth. Policymakers are happy to sit in their chairs and ride it all the way down. I am not. I am deeply concerned about 2016, 2026, community vote on additional one set having been sent. And I'll be concerned about that because I've had elections. Election 11 won by 4 votes, maybe 6 after the recount. And I know how tough it is. And we don't know what circumstances are going to be between now and 2026. And I'm going to see try to initiate action to put the extension of perhaps removing the sunset on that on the next ballot in 2022. Declining the opportunity for more cannabis business. I understand that declining the opportunity, we have to understand the other half because those are spoken to in terms of style and comfort of people. I appreciate that. And that needs to be respected. Let's talk about streets. The only time we really spend money on the streets is we're supposed to put our hand out and give it back. It would be nice to have another $2 million. And again, the suggestion there is 2 cultivators. And if you look at the scale that they like to operate at, and the tax rate, that's a little $1 million each year. $2 million on top of 12.8 and create enormous flexibility in urgent problems in Marysville. And I'm unmoved by the arguments, well, we'll do something else into that. I say we will. I don't hear anything specific. These opportunities are right there. And correct, the applications have been made. There's keen interest by very bona fide participants in engaging in these businesses, which help Marysville. And frankly, it's not disrespectful to respect that by way of some folks on agendas, and we all have a responsibility to lead and execute that responsibility as I see fit. And I don't intend to be disrespectful. I'm intending to do something for the city of Marysville. And I think that should be respected just as I will respect your position and what you think is best for you. So let's get this disrespect out. As I still have the floor, I look at these categories. If you can look at them. Frankly, I'm confused by 1 through 7 and 1 total. I don't know what these are. They're explaining the nursery. I understand nurseries usually go hand in hand with a cultivator. My purpose is to allow up to 2 cultivators and therefore up to 2 nurseries to be tied to a cultivator each, not independent. Manufacturing, typically, handfuls of manufacturers, as I understand the industry, will spread up around an individual cultivator. So there's an opportunity there for jobs, what have you, or at least a handful spreading it up around each cultivator. So I'm concerned about the one number there. Testing lab, I'm not looking to protect Robert's monopoly on that. If another entity came in, we do have the right to consider adding to that. Right now, that doesn't bother me. Retailer, we used to have 2 retailers, now we have 1. I'm concerned about a monopoly in that business. I'm concerned about the power of monopoly and the power of influence of monopoly. I'm not accusing anybody, it's just the power of monopoly should always be a concern, notwithstanding the what I've seen is exemplary behavior of perfect people in the business. Whether we add to that, I know this is the one that, of all of these, that probably creates the most passion because it is the most visible manifestation of cannabis business in Maryville. And so, Mr. Robbins and any applicant to engage in retail business, they know they have their full time. But I respect them for fighting it, and I will listen as long as they're ready to engage in all limits of them. We shouldn't just dismiss when there are opportunities being presented to the city. Because no one wants to be in a position of saying, well, why don't we have streets? You know, because they didn't want cannabis business. So we don't get a good street on the place. Because that's what's going to happen. And then that's how a lot of people, I personally would say distributor, I don't know anything about the distributor business, one to another one to one. And micro businesses make it so it's 1 or 0 or 12 wouldn't make a difference to those. Perhaps a way to approach this rather than would be to look at each line item and vote on each line item this meeting, or would we want to have competing slates, or just go by each line item and talk about it, and then move our way down from top to bottom? Responses on that.
I have them, and then I'd like to pass out. Have it or not, if there's any agreement on it, they can be voted up or down. I think everybody needs to, at least, I want everybody to look at it so they can see what I'm saying.
Well, we have
but it could be changed. It's just, this amendment doesn't go in automatically, it would have to be voted by the city.
Well, for there to be an amendment, there has to be a motion on the original. So, do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to go around.
Oh, no, please, go ahead.
Thank you. Speak. I want to go back a little bit of the history of how we got to this point. Or I don't know if everybody in the audience remembers, but medical marijuana came to be before Councilmember Hudson and I were there. There was very little knowledge that anybody knew of how to put it together for the community. The council previous to us did their best when it became legal to try to put together a schedule. It was pretty vague, so when the next council came along, which included Councilman Hudson and myself, we tried to clean it up. And there was the confusion. We put what we wanted: 2 dispensaries, 1 grow, 1 testing lab, 1 distributor, 1 manufacturer. But we left the rest of it blank. The intention was those were numbered and the rest were 0. But because that 0 wasn't put there, it had been interpreted by some that it was wide open. In speaking with our council, the council, Council Horton confirmed that the intent that we had was to have those 5 categories, and where we didn't put anything, the intention was 0, not that it was wide open. So from that point, we've come to here, which is to clarify that if we want to 0 by it or if we want a number by it, so we're making it crystal clear of where we're going with it. And that is what I want to pass out and look at. I would like to add it as an amendment, but we'll look at it, discuss it, and when we go to a motion, we'll see if we go there. I want to just say, Mr. Mayor, you respectfully have said we're in dire strays. When, again, the council, when Hudson and I came on, our reserves were less than 10%, if I'm correct. Correct. And our reserves today, and we put in at that time that we would hold the city to a minimum of a 20% reserve. And correct me if I'm wrong, we are now at 38% reserve.
We were at 39 when we prepared the budget and
Okay, so we went from below 10%, we put in a 20% minimum, and we have now gotten ourselves to 39%. So I'm just having a hard time looking at that for entire straits at the moment. So again, that's a little bit of the history of how we got to this chart, is that it was never cleaned up with each county trying to clean it up, and I'm all for cleaning it up, but without changing what we had promised 3 years ago, Councilman Hudson, I believe. 3 years ago, we said we would only go with one of each of these and two storefronts or two storefronts for explicit air dispensaries. I want to go back one more time and just say, the way this is, even though I know it's from the state, I'll read a brief part of it that's to show how there's loopholes in this whole thing to get away from what we asked for or implemented. Cultivation, specialty, indoor small. Cultivation, specialty, mixed light small. Cultivation, special light indoor, blah, 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 down to cultivation indoor large, cultivation mixed light large. So now these have been reduced down to 3. I think we need to leave it where we have it, which is reduced down to 1. So that all being said, I'd like to scan these out. You can take a look at what I will probably add as an amendment, but I would like everybody to see it. And take a look at that, and what that does is that cleans up exactly what we promised 3 years ago, and it makes it very specific on our ordinance. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, city manager's asked to comment.
This is obviously a policy decision by council, but I did want to just make a couple of comments. The first being, I feel we need some quantification, because currently we have a distributor moving forward, and we have not quantified that. Keep right. So that needs to be resolved quickly. Following right behind that is the cultivation. And no, we have not had applications, but we have interest. And I don't want to waste people's time if they're not able to put one in because of limitations. So if that's one cultivation facility, it's one cultivation. It's two. But then I have something to work with, saying, okay, yes, you have a possibility of putting this over. Now, the other point I'm going to make about cultivation is perhaps a suggestion. Right now, cultivation facilities, all those different types, range from anywhere from 2,500 square feet to the large scale, which is unlimited square. So if we assign cultivation as one facility, we could have a facility that's 2,500 square feet, which might be not worth the trouble. Or we could have one at unlimited, which is probably not like either. So perhaps we should start considering square footage in combination with the numbers and the limitation on. I think there is a need to have a certain amount of square footage, and I'd like to know that we're working on cultivation in a large warehouse. But if we tie up one license to say a 2,500 square foot facility, that limits what we could do with other. So that may be something.
Councilman Hudson,
So I understand where the schedule is way, and I hope Mr. Tucker actually are kind of understanding the same thing. Put down 7 potential options of cultivation, but we would allow one for the schedule. As long as they fit within that square footage and so forth, whatever the applicants may or may bring, it's allowing that property 20,000 square feet, 25,000 square feet. That's a single option. I understand the schedule. I remember this well 3 years ago. It was literally the first thing we got on the dikes. Yeah, that was months of it coming back to us and so forth. And I thought we had a pretty robust plan with our legal counsel and the firm creating what was presented that allowed a little bit of variable inside there with what was presented. Don nailed it on the head tonight. We presented the fact that we have not had a whole lot of applicants apply for what is currently been structured. So that being the case, why are we changing this?
We are addressing this because our ordinance states that we need to address this via resolution. That's my reason for this. I've been here 7 months. This happened way before me, but the documentation originally showed 2 dispensaries and was silent on everything else. That was superseded by an ordinance that said council will decide on a number of types of businesses via resolution. So here there's no resolution.
Well, thank you. I mean, with clarification, once we made this 3 years ago, it has been since then that we've had a marijuana laboratory come into town. And that was presented to the council as we went through the process, and the council, which I don't know if it's not do, we amended and worked with that particular business within the parameters set forth in our ordinances on that particular project. I mean, that seems like a work. Instead of trying to make a definitive line beyond what was created some years ago, I feel as though we're following right on attention like this. And I'm not 100% sure that anyone's going to be 100% happy with it. I myself am very content with what was written 3 years ago, in the fact that every applicant can come forth and work within the rules for free commerce that is set forth.
And I would likely be okay with that if it weren't for the ordinance that stated a resolution.
So specifically, the resolution you're looking for is to go after the 69.
The resolution states that the cannabis businesses by type will be defined by our ordinance. Our ordinance also lists these 16 types, so I have to assume that the 16 types need to be defined through this. Now, that's define it as council, like there, but only to group them together, but there needs to be a definition.
Well, then I think you're probably best if we could table it until we come up with something that is a little more malleable to big structure. Because I'm having a hard time stretching my mind beyond what was written so many years ago with the different point of views and opinions going on here. I thought that we had a system that any sort of entrepreneur can work within right now. It's just not specifically definitive. They can present a case, and then we could go. You're saying we never, resolution, I think the procedural aspect of it. Can we not have that resolution once we have applicants 5% specific, or do we want to have that resolution right now?
I think the problem I have right now is specifically distributors and cultivators. We do not have anything that says cultivator can business in town applying, and we don't have a number for the distributor, which is already being created.
So not on the can table, whatever the phrase you want to use. Why can't we just wait till we get a particular applicant to be able to come in and say they want to do some sort of cultivation program? We work on that particular project with whatever potential properties they may see fit that would work as long as it's within our current time.
I think the challenge you might have there, as an information, is whether an organization would want to put forth effort to line up a building, do all that stuff, without understanding what it's going on.
Agree.
My immediate need, I guess, is defining cultivation and distribution, and cultivation were as simple as one cultivation act, that would probably suffice. But I can tell you that if a cultivator came in and said they wanted to do like 2,500 square foot grow, I'd probably say no thank you.
And I perfectly understand that position. I'm just not so sure I want to accept a potential project or not a potential project, not actually see a project, not just
Once it at most.
the process for the year. Yeah, once that's the current process that we have, to the chief sex group, sorry, and then go to the planning commission, so forth. As everything you say, the process works. We would have to go through the process before going back to the council, and really that works. But just because we don't have the same specific cultivation parameters, I feel as though that is, I don't have to first of all from. I apologize. You guys have that?
Just real quick for a point of clarification. So in the process, the only one that comes
Turn on the
in,
microphone, please, sir.
in the process, the only one that comes before council for final approval is the dispensary itself because of the vetting process that goes through. So the processes have been streamlined. So we get council direction. So you guys have set the policy for us to follow on the other licenses. So those are an over-the-counter application that it would be issued without coming to council for final approval. So distribution, application, inspection by fire, police, and building, that gets approved. You have the CDP from the planning commission, and that's it. You issue the permit because council provided direction about, one distribution permit coming forth. So we wouldn't come to council to get a final authorization to allow that permit to come. The only process that comes before council was the retail side, and that's the desires from council from 2016. And that's why we established that elaborate vetting process, interview, shrinking structure, and everything else. So other than that, we just providing us with policies in place to be able to streamline that at the counter. That goes out to the cameras committee and get those set forward. So the distribution wouldn't come back, or the cultivation wouldn't come back currently right now the way the processes are set up. They would not come back to council for final approval. We look at it and we do that one. Say it's one cultivation, for an example, that is allowed. It would be an application where the planning commission goes to the cannabis review committee established. We would look at it, evaluate it, to see if it met every form of criteria. So we would issue the permit currently based on policy direction provided.
Thank you, Chief. I see the clarity now in your explanation. I appreciate that. It's makes a little sense that I do remember that being the case, especially with the other project when it came to the laboratory. And the only reason we came before the council was for zoning change.
Yeah.
That's what I have in the future.
Right, the other portion for the cannabis side was a disposition and development agreement. Because we needed to establish some sort of revenue pass to the city at one time because it wasn't covered or that covered in that. So in order to allow them to come in and be a mutual benefit for the city, a disposition and development agreement was brought forth to council so we could bring that some tax structure in, and then we had was a measure of this last year, but now with the labs and distribution and all that now incorporated in that tax structure.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask the chief of course this in? You're okay with that? Chief, when we put the last ordinance in, it was unclear in some minds that, let's use distribution, for example, because there wasn't a number next to it. Or excuse me, let's use cultivation. There was a number of one. No, there was no number of cultivation, correct? Correct. So when you have your committee that goes through this, is the city attorney a part of that committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
At some point.
at some point there is a review of the city attorney. Yes.
Okay. So this isn't that the previous ordinance was wide open for as many of anything not listed, because the city attorney himself, through a conversation with the city manager, the mayor, myself, and he said that the intention of anything that didn't have a number was zero. So anytime that you looked at this table, once it went to the city attorney, if that intention was correct, every single item on there was already zero, except for the 5 or 6 that we allowed. And what we're doing tonight is just trying to clarify so yourself and the city manager have a clear view of what we were stating. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
So we don't feel that creating loops like that. Let's keep it individual, and then we'll go from individual to individual all years.
And I would like if we could put our attention towards the Bruce distributed. On the top 10 items, 1 through 10, it's all bundled together as one license.
With the exception of the nursery. That's the thing.
Yeah, the nursery is completely taken out. I would like to take that inclusive area and bring it down to only items 9 and 10 in the cultivation, and eliminate items 1 through 8, which I believe solves our city manager's dilemma. We put a 0 amongst every one of those items and allow 1 license only for item 9 and 10. And with that adjustment on Bruce's scale, I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
If the resolution for the council is subject to election, your new resolution that was published. So the resolution is on the agenda. Please do that first.
Council, can you speak to that?
I believe you can make the motion in March. It's the same subject matter, so if the motion is modifying this, I believe that also not.
So my motion stands.
And
It would be very long. Nicole, you push your mic. No, you're good. She's meant to be like any new application. People shouldn't tell us application. We don't have to. And the hard thing is, it's a realm of entertainment. Nothing's gonna manifest until we actually put something in, like why would they invest in the inspections and all that if they don't even know if it's a possibility? Like at least if there's one license or permit that they could obtain. Okay, yeah, there's like this possibility that I could do this. If they don't have anything, we are in the motion of entertaining. I'm already done. Just in the middle of it. Yeah. You go ahead and wrap this meeting up, okay? Bye. Tim. Lord. Right now? Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, we have a motion as offered by Councilman Pelzer, we have a second.
I'm the second, but I want to make sure we're clear. We're taking the original motion, the original recommendation. And to that recommendation, we're adding what I propose on top of Councilman Belza wants to remove.
You're presenting it in lieu.
In lieu of one and 1 through 8. Removing 1 through 8 in lieu and putting this in lieu of what's attached. Right. If that's the case, I'm the second.
We have a motion to second. I'd like to make present an amendment to that. And return to the original resolution offered by staff. That was to current motion second is because the chief of police is absolutely the closest person to the city. He has more expertise, more experience, more involvement than anybody sitting in this act. And the two people who were involved in this, I understand, were the city manager, staff was the chief of police and the city manager. So we have the city manager and the chief making, and frankly, I prefer to make some changes to the original proposal myself. A chance. Now, it might fail, but there's something else to consider. But I think to absolutely blow it off the table is something to justify a council without giving due consideration of that might be viewed as disrespect, because these are the senior people. We have the chief who operates the largest department in the state and is closest to the industry. And then we have the city managers studied this carefully. They've presented something. Why don't we give it a shot first? And if it fails, someone can suggest something else. So Brenda, return to, and might make a motion to return to the original proposal.
I will pull my second, because I will not second that. So you'll have
That's irrelevant to the question. Is there a second?
That is not irrelevant. You're amending an amendment, which I already seconded, and I am not going to second what's on the table. And also, I would just Mr. Mayor,
the council is going to enter into this now as disagreement, and the council can enter the disagreement. Please, council.
I think we need clarification, because initially when you started, you indicated you wanted to amend the motion. Are you amending the motion, or are you making a new motion?
Amending the motion to return, well,
the difference is if you amend the motion, then you need different consent of the moving parties. If you're making a new motion, then you're asking for a second, for which that motion would be voted on prior to moving to the other motion.
That's not one clarification, Vice Mayor. It's simply that. Okay, so then the existing motion is on the table, and I presume my friendly amendment isn't viewed so further, but I will make it anyway, and is it accepted or not?
You approve this amendment or not?
Want to vote on the original proposal, or do you want to stick with
I am not seconding the original. Is that the clarification you need? I'm not seconding the original. And I would like to say, Mr. Mayor, I agree with you with a lot of things, and especially the chief's input and the city manager's input. But if we were going to have them make the decisions, they should have run for council. That's why we all ran it, including yourselves. No disrespect.
So, where do we stand right now?
It does not look like your amendment has been accepted by the moving parties.
Okay, So discussion, and we can discuss the amended motion.
We can't discuss the amended motion because there is not an amended motion on the floor.
Well, no,
The
not
motion,
amended, the motion.
the original motion that,
Discuss the motion.
Councilmember Nelson made, yes, you can have discussion on the amendment, on the actual motion that's before the council. Correct.
And I'll open up the discussion and say my comments. Anybody want to comment?
I have just clarification on Councilmember tells us last, amendment, close amendment. When we talk about limiting the total cultivation for cultivation to category 9 and 10, one operation, I would recommend that it's clarified that that is a large indoor cultivation of 22,000 square feet or greater.
Council, is that something that I need to add to the motion? A minimum of 22,000 square feet, lines 9 and 10 on the schedule?
Yes, if you're comfortable with that clarification, then yes, you can add that, and as well as, Councilmember Vice Mayor Bell also accept that.
So I will add that to the motion.
Second. Yes. We'll need a second. Okay, motion made second. Discussion.
Let me read this real quick. Motion made to get rid of 159, 158, motion for 20,000 square feet.
Be the zero license.
159. And then you're talking about, excuse me, 158. 9 and 10 for 22,000 square feet. What about 12 for 16?
So to clarify, item number 11 and 12 would be one license total. Item number 15 would be 2 licenses total. Item number 14, but the delivery fee would be a 0. Item number 15, the distributor would be a 1. And then item number 16, the micro business would be a 0.
I do believe you skipped number 13, correct? But that would be one. It's sort of there.
It's already in existence, at least once.
Thank you for clarification.
Did clerk? I just want to make sure it's that thing correct.
I will review the video for them.
Council has it.
On that one more time. Yeah.
I'll go quickly and I'll go item number 1, 0. Item number 2, 0. Item number 3, 0. Item number 4, 0. Item number 5, 0. Item number 6, 0. Item number 7, 0. Item number 8, 0. Items 9 and 10 combined into one category with 1 license available. Item number 11 and item number 12 combined into one category with 1 license available. Item number 13, 1 license available. Item number 14, 2 licenses available. The duplicate number 14, retailer only within license delivery only, 0. Item number 15, distributor would be a 1. And item number 16, micro business would be a 2.
Thank you for that clarification. No comments. That's fine.
Back to that kind of something to good considerations. Mr. Bullock suggested that shape because because we have substantial reserve. And last year, we had a surplus of revenues over expenses in the general fund of what, 200,000 or 300,000 surplus. There's a current number of revenues over expenses in the last fiscal year.
I don't have all those numbers complete because we're still finishing the revenue posting audit.
Best of my memory, that was the number you shared.
Yes, that was prior to actually starting on, so yes.
It's remember, so it's about breaking. It's about breaking. Is it John?
There's a $5,600 difference between what you're saying and $5,600.
Expenses. Yeah. It's real close. It's not true. Last I saw was 300,000. They're still working. And that could change. And the forecast for the budget for the current year is pretty close to the same. I think forecast is the budget is what, 300,000 surplus?
No, for this current year, it was, I think, around $5,000.
I'm talking about the upcoming fiscal year.
The fiscal year was around $5,000. It was break even, so it was $5,000 surplus.
So break even. And my suggestion then is that the reserve, if you were a corporate entity, that would be considered 10 years. And when the city spends your 10 years, I think we call that a dividend. And whenever a business enterprise makes dividends out of their 10 years, they're looked at very carefully by the financial community, because there goes the safety net, there goes the rainy day fund, there goes the disaster fund. So I mean, it's very comforting to have that reserve. It would be more comforting if we were producing substantial surplus each year. Right now, we're right here. That's all we got. The 800,000 of that reserve is that we sold. So this does allow more business. I understand that during the break, something great application. So though we really could make an application because the apply. Didn't know what to apply for. So 0 applications while meaningful. There's some reasons. Were there concrete opportunities in Marysville? It's not really asking some of them. Were there concrete opportunities that an applicant could apply for? Listed opportunities that an applicant could apply for.
Based on my understanding, yeah, for cultivation and distribution.
But we still don't have a distribution number, so you can apply what you're applying, hoping that the number comes up, because that number is available tonight. There was no number associated with distribution. I know there's an assumption that things could be done, but there was no concrete provision to allow something.
That's correct, up until recently when the clarification. There was some confusion in reference to that, and that's why we're here to try to figure out.
What are the numbers today before we perform the suggestion that was made here?
What's that?
The proposal from staff, the city manager, on these various categories, what were the hard numbers available for those items before you presented this and before Councilman Belza offered the alternative?
It wasn't clear, except for 2 dispensary licenses.
So it was just two dispensary, that was the only thing that was clear.
That's correct.
Okay, no, there's a reason there were no applications made. We had a good spirited gentleman go forward on a distributor activity. His fingers crossed, could be licensed to get, and tonight would be this passage, he'll be able to get a license. So the fact that there were no applications might have something to do with the fact there were 0 things to apply for.
That could be the assumption.
Thanks.
I don't know.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's good. Overall break even and have risks, substantial risks associated with that. Trying to use missing important consideration. Trying to use youth. Possible. Yeah, that's my sense of it. And, so I will, any number down here, I like. There's some numbers now in this alternative. That's our better if there are some. So I like numbers associated with these things. And as Councilman Benson has suggested, when an opportunity presents itself, we can amend this on the fly to accommodate. The concern with that is it could become political. You could have political maneuver by an applicant. And I don't think any of us are susceptible to it, but it creates a situation where criticism could be cast at the council. Having the council name a number and staff to execute on the qualifications for that license. It has a significant concern. I'd like to ask a question, if I could, to those who were around when the 2 number was approved. I'll ask you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to, because of protocol, and you got my name up, and you have the floor for a second here. You respond.
Can I ask a question first? I'm asking a question first.
I'd like to answer what you said first, and then I will be glad to answer your question.
Well,
it's protocol. It's protocol. You got my name into it. I didn't, you said that you used the word dire straits, and I said we were in great shape. I did not say that. I said that we had improved, and then saying we were in pretty good shape. Per the city manager, the city manager has explained to me that most budgets are in city, in the public business, are designed to be somewhat equal, and any money that is broke goes into the reserves. That's why our reserves have gone. The 800,000 that came from the golf course equals 8%. So just to be clear, when Councilman Benson and I came in, we were down right at the 2 million reserves. And even if you get the golf course out, we have raised up to almost 3.1%. So I just want to clarify this. Okay. Now, I'm sorry, your question being?
Yeah. And I understand the clarification. When it was first considered, and the licenses were granted to Perfect Union and to Wives, was there ever any consideration that we might, I would say just one license, one here, in 2 locations. And there was no protection against the monopoly. Looking back, I'm not going to spot. Looking back, I'm not going to.
No, I'm glad to answer what I know about that.
Well, but looking back, I wonder if people would have thought it prudent to require approval of the changing of the hands of any licensee. In other words, in order to prevent a monopoly situation. And again, Perfect Union, and there's Perfect Union in the audience, say this with great respect. I understand, particularly the chief who is close to everything that Perfect Union operates on board, and they're honorable, and they model enterprise ethics and their projects. And one step to that. But we've got, I look at, there's 2 locations, really effectively 1 licensee.
My understanding, the 2 were put in before Councilman President. There was our acquisition chief was there. So we held to that when we tried to do somewhat of a cleanup that obviously. Now, that being said, and this is a question probably for Jim and the chief, because my understanding, and please give us your input correctly, that those 2 licenses belong to the city. We distributed those out. I myself don't know how they became connected because I thought they had to come back.
They have, correct me if I'm wrong, they by the cannabis committee. And I believe that was presented to the cannabis committee. And change in ownership composition, is that correct?
Yes, I think that's right.
Because I'm guessing that means Perfect Union, they did not go over and purchase from that. Somehow it came back to the city. Somebody from that company moved in with this company. Please explain.
So there's no purchase. So to go back and clarify the mayor's statement from earlier about not allowing a monopoly of Wild Seed and Perfect Union get the very first 2 licenses, they didn't. So as RCP Maryville that is doing business as Perfect Union was granted 1 license from the city. Marysville Cannabis Company was allotted the other license from the city. They failed to perform and failed to build. We came and brought it back before council when Ms. Brown was the city manager and her forced on the stages, and we presented there was an appeal hearing in front of council because I revoked her license for failure to produce the non-meeting standards outlined within our municipal code, and I made a motion to revoke that cannabis license from them at that point in time. It came before council. It was granted. That license became available. It went back on again. The only entity that put in at that point in time was Wild Seed Wellness. Can't think of it off the top of my head. That gentleman comes in. Each entity has a board of directors. So we have a principal and a co-principal that they put on the application. So that gentleman came in, started the process because the dispensary was already somewhat built on the infrastructure on the inside, so he came in and finished that to get that. One of his board of directors was Alex Meeks, and at that point in time, we had the partnership between the 2 of them. The first gentleman ended up leaving. Alex Meeks was the sole person on the board of directors. So Alex Meeks is the owner of Wild Seed Wellness, Perfect Union. So the license is issued to Alex Meeks. A few months back, Alex Meeks approached the Cannabis Review Committee about adding another member to his board of directors, which is Chris Running. Chris Running is also an employee of MWG Holdings, which is a management group, cannabis management group that oversees management of Perfect Union and now also Wild Seed Wellness. So for all intents and purposes, whether the state uses it as they both, as it's owned by one entity for tax purposes, or whatever the case may be, our licenses, as far as we know, and we stand, and we look at the paperwork and the structure, Dave Stradlin, the license from issued from the city of Maryville is Dave Stradlin, owner, Perfect Union, Wild Seed Wellness, is owner Alex Mapes and Chris Ryan, the licenses are issued to, and there's an MWG Holdings that's the management group of the employees that oversee both entities. So that's where the connection is to the MWG Holdings as we see it now. This last week I was provided the organizational structure. As far as the approval process, yes, it came to us to add another board member to that, which we have to approve. We have to live scan that individual, and I sought legal counsel with Mr. Wardson. We looked at the state laws, we looked at the ordinance as far as the change and adding somebody to the ownership group, the board of directors, and it does allow for it. There's nothing that prevents it from happening, so therefore we reviewed it as a committee, we could not deny adding a person on that at that point in time. So therefore, the new audit license was issued, and they did give their application, the new application fee of $7,500 to the city.
Chief, so there are different names as to the ownership of these retail operations. Correct. Do I understand that? One name here, one name here, different names.
One name here, two names. One name here, two names here.
The actual equitable beneficiaries of that ownership.
Not sure I understand.
Well, the equitable beneficiaries of the ownership of people who actually own those positions. In other words, are these individuals the actual equity owners of these businesses, or do they represent another layer below that of ownership?
Well, as far as I know, that they are the owners of that. Lake Skyline owns that license for Perfect Union, and Alex Means owns that license.
Do they have access to, so they have a common, but the management of the two is through a common company? Is that right?
The connection between the two is Chris Money, who's on the board of directors now.
Do we have access to that management?
I don't have their management agreement between the both of them.
I've dealt a lot in private equity, we have different names and different places, but the same owner. The same owner can be represented from
And that's correct when you're looking at MWG Holdings as far as that management group. So in the eyes of the state for tax purposes, they are, it appears that they're owned by that, by money. Yes, that's what I was trying to explain. So on our licenses, and as far as our applications and the board of directors, there's those people, those individuals that I listed out are the ownership. So if we go to revoke their license, we're going to those specific individuals making that recommendation.
Yes, so it could be separate equity owners, but it could be common equity ownership through representatives at the two companies. And I've seen this before. So I don't know which it is. It would be that rule would be solved by having access to and reading carefully the management relationship between the two. And I think we should have legitimate access to that. It's relevant to our understanding of the relationship. Because by all purposes, I mean, I've spoken with representatives, the representative of Perfect Leave, and I said that the own both of them. The answer is yes. And I asked people around too, if they own both of them. The answer is yes. Well, then I heard different names, but the answer through common management agreement could be yes. And so I'd be interested, I'm not accusing anything, it'd be information worth having. To determine if we have really one license we operate, we obviously there's two licenses, but in substance, one license we operate. It's not relevant to this right now.
Well, I think I clarified that. I mean, that is correct. It's through MWG Holdings, so in the eyes of the state, would be one entity that is has joint licenses.
And my guess is that is the substantive reality that there is just one other. And until someone says proves there is 100% there is.
Right. Question for Chief.
Please.
On just the clarity, when we issue a license, and I assume this blankets all categories that we're talking about here tonight. When we issue a license, is it issued to a specific individual, or is it issued to an entity, or is it issued to the specific property that it's located?
No, so the license is issued to the individual or the business with the individual ownership. So a license, a permit, we'll say Wild Seed, but it's actually North Star Maryville, because that was the original. The one business has Wild Seed Wellness. Owners, Alex Winks, Chris Running, because they're the two primary principals that work. Same thing for Wild Seed Wellness.
So both of those individuals have to stay in that company in order to maintain that permit.
That's correct. And if there's a change, then well, it comes back to the cannabis review committee, like I just stated. So Alex wanted to add them, so therefore it came back to the cannabis review committee, looked at the ordinance, met with legal counsel, and it approved based on the current structure of the ordinance. And this time is added. Thank you.
She, thank you very much. Answered it. Wasn't easy. I appreciate it. Well, I'll finish my comments with. I could live with all of this if we had two next to cultivation versus one where you have to go through the very process. That's a withdrawal from my dreams and wishes, substantial withdrawal from my dreams and wishes. The cultivators can be substantial. And do not present the visibility of retail business presents. That's the end of my discussion. Nothing discussion. It's time for a vote on the motion. Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Belza,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilchrist,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bedicavoli,
Yes.
and Mayor Branscombe.
No. Okay, the next business. Let's see, the three that we pulled from the okay, I read the agreement. Right out for contract recommendation. Pass the motion to authorize the city manager taking one to enter into an agreement with the Adventist-Rideout for contracted police services at 726 4th Street, Marysville, and two, adopt the appropriate amendment resolution and three, execute almost the document. Actually, Chief, this is that.
This is the updated proposal that I'm passing on now. The one that you have in is the original. This is the updated and amended one that matches the staff report. So my apologies on that. So both proposals are both.
Chief, Michael.
So both packets, the original one you had, the one I just passed out, are the same exact, except for the one that I just passed out as proposal A, which was for the two officers versus the original one you had 1, 3, and 5. So that's just a point of clarification. So on page 5, that's the important. So, Mr. Mayor, Council, so this evening, before you to authorize city manager designee to enter into an agreement with the Adventist-Rideout for contract police services at the hospital facility located at 726 4th Street, and adopt said resolution and then execute all necessary documents. This has been well in the works for over the last year and a half or so, the initial talks. We met again in January, and there was a need for law enforcement services within the emergency department of Adventist-Rideout. And they expressed their desire to increase safety for the staff, contractors, patients, visitors, and reduce any criminal activity in the local area. We agree because it provides a better service to the constituents and the visitors to Marysville. So in January, I met with the CEO or president, Mr. Rick Rawson, also with Daniel Chabet, who's here today in the audience, Adventist-Rideout, to start looking at what the needs and wants were from Adventist Health, and also what the needs and wants were for the city. Several proposals were sent to them. You saw the original one with proposals of 1 officer, 3 officers, a whole division of 4 officers and a sergeant, and we came into a mutual agreement for 2 officers. And so that's what the proposal is in front of council this evening. Would be a proposal of adding 2 officers that would be hired, fully funded by Adventist-Rideout, and they would be assigned to their facility. All management, supervision remains within the police department. They are our employees. We establish the scheduling and training for them to respect the regular officer patrol. What we would do is work with Adventist-Rideout to identify the most critical times and the needs at the hospital for those police services and schedule accordingly. Also within this, it's established that the priority is patrol. So if there's an officer that's working over at the hospital that's assigned there on vacation or training, that's not a mandatory backfill like it is for patrol. We would be able to utilize these officers if we have an emergency situation, all those code routines where officer needs assistance for backup in the city. That officer could break momentarily to assist the other officers until that scene was secured, and then as soon as it's secured, we would be able to go back to the hospital. One of the things, for us, there are a couple of things for us that's also beneficial for having this is, a lot of patients, clients are dropped off at that location for various other law enforcement agencies within the White County region. And it's kind of used as a city or a location to almost like a babysitting service. If they don't want to do it, they can find out a way to get them there, and 20 minutes later, they're putting them in, which is against medical advice, and they're running down the street half naked with an idea of what they're home. And this happens quite frequently. So we were excited about the opportunity not only to be able to have 2 officers that help support it, but also working with the Adventist-Rideout staff to be able to look at policies and procedures on how we could help curb some of that for the future, and to be able to put things into place so that's not happening. So we're not doing this during some calls. And another plus is, when there's a shooting within the county, and those members are either dropped off by their friends or, literally sometimes they just pull in a car and they shut them out of the car, and the people leave, and the hospital was on lockdown. So then we get called over there already to be able to assist their security staff and make sure, because you don't know why that person was shot. It's a game related, or they show up to the hospital, or additional crimes that are committed. It is pretty much chaos when it comes to that type of thing. It's all hands on deck. So we'll be able to better assist on that side of it as well. They've been a great partner for us so far. We implemented the pod camera system with them, where we already have one at the Light Building Center. That's just right out. That's a $250,000 project on pod cameras. And we've got 2 up already in the first phase, which is right across the street from where we are now. And that's where there's parking lot side. You'll see that blue flashing lights. So if you drive by, it's not all the way, but you're on camera and you can see it. And then also the one farther down by the solar project, and that parking lot, there's another one. The goal for them is to have that all the way around Fish Street up towards the cancer center, to allow students to do coverage. So that way, there's criminal activity to explore. We have those instances where people are dropped off. We'll be able to go back and look at and Zoom up to 2 square blocks. Pretty easy. sat down to look at the whole package with them. It depends on who gets hired, whether it's Pepper, Classic First. And so what we did was we did a proposal for a complete fence system package across the board. So we have on the interest side of it. We're estimating $198,161 on the low end, so $280,312 annually on the top end, excluded the high and the low. So that way it encompasses any personnel that we would hire at whatever step of the work, or whatever purge of the work, or whether they are married and had 4 kids and they have family medical, or whether they're single and they only need medical coverage for themselves. And so that is within that established range. We also looked at fees associated with the hiring process, another $14,143. That includes the background, background testing, psychological, and medical screening for those individuals in that process, and issued equipment. Then we also look at ongoing costs associated annually. So we look at where there are going to be vehicles. So it'd be 2 leased 2021 or 2022 Chevy Tahoes that would be assigned to the 2 officers of that location. Also CAD or RMS, which is records management system, and then maintenance of those said vehicles on that side of it. So this proposal was sent back to Adventist with these numbers in it. When it was sent back to them, we also looked at, it's going to take us anywhere from 10 to 12 months for full implementation from the time of approval, because we have a recruitment process, we've got to train up a new officer, which is a minimum of 16 weeks of the training program once we get them hired, and then that person will go to patrol or get sent somebody else to the hospital assignment. So when we look at that, how can we help support it in the meantime and start a pilot program, so to speak? So Daniel and I met and Rick in reference to the pilot program, if we wanted to get something started before that, and they agreed in the agreement to put $75,000 in a fund for overtime and for straight pay for level 1 reserve officers and full-time officers to implement a pilot program of current personnel. They could go over there, maybe it's 1 day a week, maybe it's 1 day every couple of weeks, but identify times to start establishing that relationship with their staff and start getting these protocols in place, anticipating full implementation. So all the costs associated outlined in this agreement, just stated and protected and certain questions.
2 officers. What would be the schedule?
So depending on sitting down at the hospital and looking at the parameters of the critical times for them, but when we would look at that, we would probably look at a 4 10-hour day schedule. Right now, our patrol staff is on 3 12s. We would probably look at 4 10-hour days. So, and then you'll have 1 overlap day, which would be the busiest day.
It seems like this is something that the force multiplier. Indeed, you are giving special attention to the heart of the blue zone. That's called blue zone. So you give special attention to the heart of the blue zone. But that means other officers don't have to spend a lot of time in the blue zone because the blue zone is covered. But at the hospital, focusing at the hospital itself, or is there patrol in the blue zone in general with the focus on the hospital?
So their focus is on the hospital itself, and they would be assigned to the hospital. Yes, they have to be going to be traveling that corridor, and there would be a crime reduction in that corridor. Vision seeing a reduction in those things, whether it's the theft from parking lots or whatever happens. And then that does relieve the patrol officer. They'll handle all the calls for service at the facility during the times of their assignment. And then that would relieve the patrol officers that would normally dispatch those calls for service to be able to concentrate and focus on either more productivity or other calls for service.
So there's a little bit of shrinkage based on the patrol area covered by these hospital officers or officers assigned to hospital. So that takes that area out of the area that's required to be patrolled by the rest of the officers, is that correct?
Correct.
Get under that. That's,
Chris, just looking at this, what's the time frame for it? Not to start it, but
For the agreement itself?
The agreement itself.
So what we did was we looked at it in order to try to make it successful and have some sort of evaluation period for it. We agreed with a 3-year minimum agreement on this, and then both parties have agreed that we would have to give each other a 1-year notice of the non-renewal. So 1 year prior to, so we would have to, the Adventist, if they chose not to continue with the agreement, they would have to give us a 1-year notification that they would not continue with the agreement. And then what we will do is review this agreement with them annually to figure out progress and where we're at with stuff. But we anticipate, based on the amazing relationship that we have with them, that it will go far beyond 3 years with their vision, or the current vision that is there right now, with the increase in capacity and demand to increase the capacity there, that we see this getting.
Could you become a representative?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Welcome.
I would just like to purpose bringing it up. There's no more explanation, but thank you. I mean, I don't see anything but benefit for both of us, and the relationship that we've had with that dentist has been fantastic. So I just wanted to say thank you for working with us on this.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to work with the chief and see it. And really looking forward to the opportunities to be partners as the city continues to grow. So, now,
Fantastic. Any other comments? Say different with smiles.
No, I just want to say,
I'm sorry. We had a presentation with sorry.
correct.
Any public comment on this?
Not tonight, Mayor.
That's
I just want to say, this is doing what he did, and we got the boxes, working with the lunch. His team was interacting with me to be able to take care of each other. I was going with them, so.
Okay, we got thumbs up. Any comments? We have a motion. Second, and by acclamation, all in favor?
Aye.
Great job, Chief. Okay, we now have committee reports. Councilman Belzo.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Councilman Hudson. Vice Mayor, nothing.
Two committee comments. One, we got a quote for Bryant Field for the fence. I'm going to pass it on to the city manager tomorrow so we can go through it. But it looks like something that's going to be doable. And secondly, I'm on the committee, so I can bring up both of our grants were approved from the Yuba-Water Agency, and I can probably let Jim comment on that.
Next time I'm going first, so I can talk about the water.
I'm going to let Jim do it.
Council correspondence.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, 2 handouts were received from Karen Liggett today. These are all in your inboxes here at City Hall.
Thank you. City manager.
Just a few things. First of all, yes, our Ellis Lake grants, related grants, with Yuba Water Agency were approved by the board today. One was for roughly $140,000 to do remediation, carp removal, and phosphate control on the lake, and the other was a little over $12,000 for resource evaluation. That came to council recently. They fund that analysis. Spend that to our general fund. And that helps us move forward with the process of gate grant and other grants. The lake. Second thing, reminder, the Red Cattle Lunch for the Salvation Army is coming up on the 4th at 11 a.m. And they're honoring our chief for his service in the community. Great. Last thing, everybody was aware of the March storm we had coming in, and that really did tax some of our storm drain systems. One in particular on 17th, which before scrambling to get pumps hooked up, probably continuing to work on first. I did want to thank some volunteers that helped fill sandbags, particularly Julie Belza. She was the hardest worker out there. And we filled out quite a bit of sandbags. Our public works folks said that the citizens that received those sandbags were very, very grateful. So thank you for the volunteers that came out.
Okay, comments, requests. Comments, requests. Some of the persons. It's good something like that. I had missed the grand opening of Royal Oak Pharmacy yesterday on History 8, something 814, well, something like that. History, and I understand from Councilman Hudson that it had been a pharmacy before, went out of business early, and what have you. And I met with the mayor because it's not unique. Here it is. Gentleman's name is pharmacist and owner and a real entrepreneur. He's got capital returning for 36 months. He says it takes that long to really launch and get people to change over and become customer builders. Jim, J-I-M-I-C-H-A-N-S-I. I've suggested that you might want to come by the next council meeting in public comment, just to announce his presence and why he chose Marysville and his outlook. Wonderful young guy, and I just wanted to give him a little bit of publicity right there. The walls are listening to the anyway, that's the end of my time.
I was out tonight at a storm, running around. I just want to make sure we think, and I hope we give all three consent. Anthony, I don't want to miss, but the three of them are out there working their families off.
Brandon? Was it Brandon Hogan?
Brandon, Sean, and Tim. And I mean, those guys they were doing an amazing job. Everything they could, out in those sandbags, up to the garage doors and the front door. So I just want to make sure they are part of public safety, and you can tell that.
I need to clarify. Julia was the hardest worker of the volunteers.
So qualified. Councilman Hudson, any other comments? Right?
I do want to thank, all of our departments for that great, it's kind of got a lot of us up there. Most things I don't watch the news. But it was, I came from, we had the meetings out there, I know the public works out there, and it's kind of interesting for a quick there, 97. It was nowhere near that, I just, our drains were stopped. And swimming pool from our house. So, thank you for all of our staff. It's not, as it is working. With what, thank you.
Steve, a quick one. We added 6 inches of water to Ellis Lake. And it's like the water, which supports the saying that the solution to pollution is dilution. It really works, it makes things a lot better. All we need is another what, 4 or 5 feet, we have to Councilman Belton.
Couple different things. It was kind of ironic that night. I was running around. I think there was one other public works fellow that was down the back of the house.
There were a couple more too.
Yeah.
I think that Michael runs a Stewart storm drain stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, they did a great job. I felt it funny. We've got 170 years of flood protection from flood exterior coming in, right? And I thought, wouldn't this be ironic if we flooded from the inside out? Yes. But luckily we did 9 and we weren't in the danger of that type of flooding or that kind of flood. Anyways, we made it through, and let's get that one running for sure. We're ready for the next one. So, we had our first Say Love met at the 530 Event Center this last Saturday. It's the first time of meeting in Marysville. We still meet in Yuba City. I think we had between 15, 17 people show up. A lot of them first timers, a lot of them were residents of Marysville, and which was really encouraging to meet. So we went and did graffiti cleanup and did some trash cleanup. I believe the next event is going to be, I think, on the 27th of November, which is the last Saturday. And the dialogue at this point is to work with the city and go through and do, try to do some beautification cleanup in the downtown and the route of the parade. So whatever that looks like, and we'll be corresponding with the city to try to coordinate that. Try to lighten the load for public works a little bit so we can stay focused on it. That's the purpose of it. So that was good. And then the Marysville Business Alliance continues to roll on, and primary focus right now is economic plans for the Christmas parade. There's some flyers downstairs on the counter in the main office. Oh, Stuart's got one there. And on that note, I'm trying to think throw in there, but I'll let Stuart finish up on the Marysville Business Alliance.
That's quite all right. Alan did an outstanding job. But here is the poster for the Ho 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 Down for the Marysville Christmas Parade. This is really exciting. Okay. So those are my comments. Thank you. I know.
Tuesday, November 16th. 6 p.m.
Recording stopped.
All aboard! Live streaming can be simple and not expensive. You may already have the basic tools right in your hand. But it's more than just pushing live to communicate effectively. That's where Yuba-Sutter.LIVE and Live Streaming YS on Facebook can help you. Make it easy to jump in. Just give us a call at 530-301-2931 or visit our website, www.yuba-sutter.live. Yuba-Sutter's home of live streaming and live streaming tools, live streaming services, technology, and training. Live streaming is Yuba-Sutter.LIVE.